Hi everyone, Vincent here, and Dumpees, we need to talk. I've got 3 things I would like to speak about with you today, Dumpees, so please listen through, because I'm hoping that this can help you move forward in a way which not only makes you feel better, but also gives you hope for the future. Because I appreciate, as a Dumpee, things are feeling pretty difficult right now. So the first thing I wanted to speak about with you, Dumpees, is not something you would necessarily have thought that you want to listen to, but it's really important that we discuss it, and it's really important that you listen. And that is asking you the question, are you taking accountability? Now, if you want to get your ex back, you need to take accountability for your side of the relationship breaking down. Now, if you think, well, I don't want to get my ex back, but I just want to live my life in a way where I meet someone even better, well, that's fine. But again, as a Dumpee, this means you have been through a breakup where you were dumped. Again, are you taking accountability for your side of a breakup? Now, as a Dumpee, we often feel shocked. We often feel blindsided. We often didn't see this coming. And we often feel like we've been cheated, whether literally our ex cheating on us, or maybe in a position that we feel cheated of having the future relationship we imagined having being taken away from us. It feels really cruel. Now, I'm not here to say that your ex-dumper was right to make that decision. I'm not here to say that they didn't have a very large part in why the relationship broke down. But we have to understand that they made the decision because they lost romantic emotional attraction. They wouldn't have ended the relationship if they were feeling a high level of attraction still. That is fact. So something has happened. Whether they have played into it, whether this is something which you acknowledge, really is down to you. And this is where point number 1 of today's podcast really comes into focus. Are you taking accountability? Think about it. Understand it. Take a moment to remove yourself from the thought of how can I get my ex back, and instead think, what did I do in the relationship, good and bad? Now listen, all of us are what I would call 3D people. What this means is we're very unlikely to be one-dimensional. We are 3-dimensional. We have many sides, many facets to us, some good, some not so good. And this is where we have to take that accountability. Yes, it's important to build ourselves up. Yes, it's important to understand what makes us good and great. Yes, it's important to focus on those positives. But if we aren't taking accountability for the things that we didn't do so well, for the mistakes we made, for the problems that we perhaps caused, then how on earth can we expect our ex-dumper to regrow romantic emotional attraction for us? How on earth can we expect anybody new to want to be with us in a relationship? We can't. And that's the point. Someone will only be in a relationship with us, whether that is our ex or someone new, if they feel a high level of romantic emotional attraction. Whether this is something which needs to be regrown from a dumper, or whether this is something which is growing for the first time from someone new, it doesn't really matter the perspective in this regard. If we have made mistakes in our past, which we would have done, because we are all human beings, me included, your ex included, you included. If we don't take responsibility, understand what we didn't do so well, what we can do better, then how on earth can we expect anybody to want to be with us in the future romantically? So I'll ask you again, Dumpees, are you taking accountability? But it's easy to blame our ex. It's easy to say, well, they threw this relationship away. They threw it away. I would have battled through. I would have tried harder. They believe in throwaway culture. They promised me they would be with me forever. They told me they loved me. They married me. They said their vows. Why are they now breaking away? Well, let's now consider, why did they lose romantic emotional attraction? If they were feeling fulfilled, if they believed in the relationship moving forward, they wouldn't have left. Why would you? Why would you leave if you believe everything is going great? Sadly, something wasn't. And yes, I've already said there is a proportion of this that we need to put at the dumper's door. But right now we're going to be thinking about ourselves. And we're not going to think of it in a negative way, because we can put a positive slant on it, which is we are going to use it as fuel to push forward, to grow, and to become a version 2.0 of ourselves. So are you taking that accountability? What did you do wrong? What could you do better? And what will you change? Because what I would like you to do, Dumpees, is to remove the thought of your ex. Remove the worry of what they are doing now, who they are with, what they are posting on socials. Instead, focus on you and consider what you can do to be a better person. What did you do to trip this relationship up? Because you had a part to play. You had a role. You are not innocent in this relationship ending completely. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of you will think, well, my ex-dumper did this wrong, that wrong, and the other wrong. And I'm not saying that you have more of the blame, but it would be wrong of us to just blame someone for leaving us. Oh, it's your fault you left. Well, why did they leave? They didn't feel something. Was there a problem with your communication? Did you do an action such as cheat on your now former partner? Did you become complacent and not look after your health and your fitness? Did your ex-dumper lose physical attraction towards you? Are you someone who stopped dating your partner? Did you decide that you wanted to stay exactly the same way you are and never want to improve or grow? Maybe you didn't want to take the relationship forward. Perhaps you had different opinions on big, important topics. This might not be something that you see as a problem, but between both of you, it was. So even if you maintain your belief that you did everything right, okay, that's fine, but you must acknowledge that the person you are right now is not a good fit for the person that they are right now. It doesn't necessarily mean that either of you are bad, it just means that something isn't clicking. So please, the first thing I wanted to talk about in today's podcast, when we're focusing on the important things that we need to discuss between me and you, the Dumpee, is whether you're taking accountability, because we need to remove all of the blame we put on our ex, because not only is it not fair, it's also not accurate, and more importantly, it's not helpful for trying to increase the chance of getting them back. Now, the second thing I wanted to speak about, Dumpees, today is something just as important and is connected somewhat to what we've just been referencing. A moment ago, we were talking about whether or not you're taking accountability and where does the blame ultimately lie? Well, it likely lies fairly evenly between you both, no doubt. But what we're now thinking about is your ex-dumper actually right for you? Because as a Dumpee, you feel that you have been rejected. Now, rejection breeds obsession. There is nothing more attractive than rejection. So something rejects us and we feel attracted to it. Now, often the line between dumper and Dumpee is very thin, it's very narrow. It's something which could have gone the other way. In an alternative reality, you could have ended the relationship, no doubt. Maybe a few months further down the line you would have done. But they did it first, and now you feel completely shocked and completely pained. But it doesn't mean that they were necessarily right for you. And this is why we need to try and separate fact from fiction. Were they right for you? Are they someone you should really be with right now? It doesn't mean you weren't correct to be with one another for many years in the past. But maybe right now you've grown apart. Sometimes this is the reality. We need to make sure we are fighting for a cause which is going to be good for us. Sometimes we have to acknowledge that if we want something that isn't really right for us, well, it's not going to be helpful in the future. So we need to try and separate that pain of rejection from considering whether this connection is actually correct. And this is why it connects with what we spoke about a little earlier on, when I was saying, for instance, maybe you had different opinions on some very big topics. Perhaps you wanted to have a baby and they didn't. maybe the other way around. It could be any topic which could be seen as important. If you and your now ex view these things differently, I would suggest it's something that I call deal breaker life goals. If you have a life goal which is absolutely opposite to what your ex feels and is a real deal breaker, either for you, them, or both, then we might have to acknowledge that you aren't actually right for one another. This can be difficult. Sometimes this is something which is hard to see and understand. Often, this is something I speak about with my clients via my audio coaching service. If you feel that speaking with me one-on-one could be helpful to you, whether this is about trying to increase the chance of getting your ex back, or moving through breakup recovery, or perhaps it's moving forward through life coaching, then please go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Now, maybe your ex-dumper told you that you were going to live together forever. Maybe you did the same. Now, unfortunately, you're no longer with one another, and you are starting to think, as I'm saying, were they actually right for me? And then you think, well, yes, they were. I never want it to end, and I want to try and get them back. Well, that's fine if you want to get them back, but you can't surrender and sacrifice your life moving forward with that being your only goal. The twist on all of this is for you to increase the chance of getting your ex back. Your main goal can't be that. Your main goal can't be to get your ex back, because that means you're focusing on them and not on you. You need to focus on you to increase the chance of getting your ex back, not them. And this is where and why we need to shift our mindset. Are they actually right for you? That's not for me to say. But if you believe they are, if you want them back, then make sure you focus on you and not them. Because I can tell you, if you focus on them instead of you, you won't get them back. If you focus on them instead of you will likely chase them away, or you will become so dependent on looking at what they're doing in their own life that there is no way that you will grow enough that if they do contact you, you seem like a dateable option. Remember, at the end of the day, we need to be deemed a dateable option for a potential partner, whether it is an ex or someone new. If we are not a dateable option in their eyes, then why would they want to be with us? And when it comes to an ex, they've already lost romantic emotional attraction. If they get to the stage of reaching out to you, then they need to be wowed. And you might think, well, why do I owe my ex anything? They break my heart. Well, you can think that, but if you want them back, then you need to make sure that if they do contact you, they're thinking, wow, my ex-Dumpee is doing incredible, much better than I expected, much better than I remember. I made a mistake. If you don't think you need to wow them, that's fine, but then don't be upset if you don't get them back. If you're the same person, or goodness, if you're a lower value person in regards of relationship dynamics, if you haven't improved by the time that they reach out to you, then you can have no doubt or surprise about why they've decided to not reconnect with you. They might reach out, but they're not going to want to take it any further. That's the truth. That's the reality. It's not nice to hear necessarily, but this is why, Dumpees, we needed to talk today. Because there are too many of you who are not taking accountability. There are too many of you who are not really considering if their ex is right for them. You are not living your life in a way where you're focusing on you, you're focusing on them, you're misjudging the situation. And if you bring somebody back into your life that isn't really working for you, let alone them, how on earth can you expect this to last the test of time? Because unfortunately, it won't. And this is where we now move into the third and final part of today's podcast, which is just as important and where I really want to help you. And this is why I'm asking you the question, because point number 3 of today's podcast is me asking you, what can I do to help? Now, I try to put out a lot of content, and sometimes I get comments of people asking for specifics. Now, that is difficult to do because a specific situation is unique to you, and I need to know everything about your scenario, which is why in that case, my audio coaching service is probably going to be better for you, but in a more generalized sense, which topics are going to help you. So please let me know in the comments. Please let me know what could help you. Let me know in the comments in a generalized sense. Don't be too specific. Try to think more generalized. What topics regarding breakups, dating, relationships, life coaching, strategy, what would help you? If you don't tell me, then I will have to use my own intuition about what you might need and want. But if you as a community need different things, I need to see and read what people are actually feeling and thinking. Again, if you want something really, really specific, that's where my audio coaching will have to come into play, because that is not something which can help the community. But if there is a generalized sense of what you want and what will help, questions you need answered in a larger framework, then please let me know in the comments. And of course, subscribe as well. If you subscribe, then you'll be notified of all of my uploads, live streams, and community posts, which I try to put out there to help you all. Thank you, everybody, and try and have a great day.